So today I woke up and I was 40. It kind of crept up on me. Really didn't see that one coming. I've obviously felt the train sort of moving, but I was like, oh no, it's fine, it's all good. You know, like I've got a lot of friends around me that have kind of said like, you know, you turn 40, man, it can hit you pretty hard and all that stuff. And I'll be like, no, I'm all good, I'm cool. But I woke up this morning and it's pretty wild. It's a pretty wild feeling. And luckily I woke up to my beautiful family singing happy birthday to me, my little girls, and it's a magical thing. But at the same time I was like, wow, all right, I kind of still feel like I'm like a kid, like them. And I'm somehow a 40-year-old with kids and a you know, a wild life that's sort of unfolding. So yeah, I had another video that I actually had prepared for today that I shot yesterday. And when I woke up this morning and kind of felt this feeling, I thought, I'm gonna scrap that and just speak from the hip and just, you know, just see what comes out. And I thought I would just bring in a couple of things because I got these this morning. There's one card, and there's my second card from my two girls. And the other episode that I prepared, it was probably one of the most important things that I've learned in my life, and it's pretty deep. And I thought, you know what, like as important as I think that is, I thought maybe it's a little bit too soon for that episode in this series. And I thought because it is my 40th and I do have, you know, stuff that's coming up today. I've got it's a new thing, a new experience, stepped into this new age. So I just thought I'd wing it and just kind of see what happens. And also say as well, like I'm going to say something as well, which could be quite controversial, but it's all good because I'm just going to talk from my own mind and my own experience. And just say that for a long time I've kind of felt, you know, I've got things inside of me that need to come out. And I've always been using my films as a way to express that. So I've always, you know, it's always been done through the camera. I've never been on the side of the camera sort of sharing directly. But I always kind of had this little thing in the back of my head that like, I won't say anything. I won't share any of this sort of stuff directly until I turn 40. And I don't know why, you know, I just felt like maybe by that age I'll feel ready to kind of talk about the things that I find meaningful, the things that have helped me in my life. And it's kind of weird because today is that day. I started a week earlier, I guess. Started experimenting a little bit last year with a couple, but now I'm all in. You know, I'm completely and utterly in, going for it. And I'm in the 6th episode of this series. You know, and like I've said, I'm doing 12 episodes. And up until this point, it's been just kind of showing how this channel's growing. Kind of building up my platform, seeing who's interested, and the plan was then to start to deepen, you know, once those 12 episodes are done. Because like I've said, this channel, it's not about the metrics. It's not just about YouTube growth. It's not about those things. Those things are important because YouTube is a distribution so that we can actually share the things that we find important. But it's only just one tiny little piece of the puzzle. The most important thing is the message, is the value, is whatever it is that you can bring. So yeah, so today I just thought like, you know, bringing these two cards in, you know, I could talk about all these philosophies and, you know, all these different types of things that I've experienced in my life through the projects that I've worked on and the travels that I've done. But I just thought I would just, you know, bring these little cards into the room and just say like, this is the most important thing. This is the most important thing in my life, my family. And when things really shifted for me was when I had kids and when I started to realize that I was no longer living for myself. I was no longer living just for my own needs and my own, you know, the kind of things that, my own curiosity. I was like, now I've got a family, I've got kids, and I want to make sure that I can give them the best possible life ever. So, and as I mentioned in some of the other videos, my highest value has always been freedom. So everything that I've done in my life has been all about freedom. Everything, since as far back as I can remember, whether it be like riding waves in the ocean, whether it be traveling, whether it be like my interests in the mind and meditation, self-inquiry and all that sort of stuff, whether it be in the nature of reality, it's all been because of my absolute love for freedom. All of these things, they give you a sense of freedom. And the way I've lived my life, the way I've kind of carved it out, is by actually having maximum freedom all times. So even when I've been working as a filmmaker, I've worked just enough so that I can be free. So I've always seen it as time isn't money, but money is time. The money that we make through the things that we do give us the time so that we can actually live the life that we want, so that we can have the sort of freedom that we want. And since I had these two little girls, yeah, that is expanded. Now I'm creating freedom for 4. So it's expanded. So I've been thinking about how I can adjust myself in order to make that work. And like I said, I think I mentioned it in the first episode, like when I was giving a little bit more of an introduction into who I am. I was talking about I've been making films for 20 years now. And in those, that 20-year process, it's been such an awesome experience because I'm totally self-taught. There's no course that I ever did to do any of the things that I've done. And it's all just been like a process of just improvement, just constantly just getting better and better and better. And there was never really an end goal. It was just like, wow, like what I'm doing today is better than yesterday, and that feels pretty wicked. So I'm just going to keep moving. And then it slowly sort of evolved into, people, offering me some money to do it. And then all of a sudden I could pay the bills. And then all of a sudden I could buy a few flights. And then all of a sudden I could literally start creating my whole life around it. So the work that I was doing, the thing that I loved so much, was really fueling my whole life, was fueling my whole experience, which was all based around freedom. And the films that I was making were all in that realm as well. Any of the personal projects I was working on, it was all about freedom, about breaking limitations, about breaking stigmas, to be able to show that we can live a different kind of life. So freedom has always been of the highest value. And again, now I'm in the process of creating freedom for 4. And this has got a lot to do with that, what I'm doing on this platform. Everything that I'm doing here is I've got a vision, I know what I want to do, and I've got an intention for the channel, like how I can serve on the highest, and also be able to actually carve out a life which actually gives me the kind of life that I want, which is time with my family, to not be working all the time. When I work on projects, mainly I'm working international, so I'm away. So one of the projects I was away for 10 months, one of the years, which is nuts. And then last year, I worked on a 4-part HBO documentary series where I was working as a director of photography. I can't really talk about it yet because I'm under NDA. But I went into that project with like a strong sort of feeling that I may sort of go into this one and start to kind of. It was really an experiment as well to kind of see if I could continue to do this, because the plan was that I was going to be away for, what was it? I think it was 3 months. I think it was 3 months or something like that. I can't even remember, 3 to 4 months. And that's a long time to be away from your kids. I've got a 3-year-old and I've got a 1-year-old. And I was like, as much as I love what I do, as much as I love telling stories and making films, I love my kids more, and I don't want to miss out on their life. I don't want to miss out on their life. And, here, it's my birthday, I'm 40 years old. I've kind of got to the point where I've started to realize what's most important. And even though there are all of these different things that I find valuable and important about life, the most important thing for me is these kids, my family, and they are my priority. And to create a life where I can prioritize them, give them an amazing life, and be able to actually be present with them, to spend time with them, is it's everything. So I know I've mentioned a few times over the last 12 months, I was really kind of because I could see my filmmaking career, it's been amazing for 20 years, and it's just been on this sort of growth, this sort of permanent growth. And I was just this is incredible. I've managed to carve this out. I've managed to carve out this lifestyle, this profession where I can it's just getting better and better and better. Projects were getting better. The paychecks were getting better. The freedom was getting more expansive because of the more money you make, the more time that you have to actually take time off, so you don't have to keep working. This isn't just for me. I'm not a hustler. I'm not get in the grind and just work your ass off and work your whole life away. I'm no, that's not for me. That's not my life. I want to live life. I want to have, for me, it's not all about the work. The work is there to facilitate your life and not the other way around. So watching my own industry sort of shrink, as I was saying, it was sort of moving up and up and up and up. Things were getting better, money was getting better, all that sort of stuff. And I was like, yes, supporting my family, not just supporting them, but thriving, traveling a lot with them, taking like 6 months off, like ridiculous, just amazing. And like I've come from like a very, pretty poor background. We didn't have anything growing up or anything like that. Like my parents, working class, struggled. It's not like I haven't come from any of that sort of stuff. So to actually be able to get myself into a position where I didn't really have to worry so much about the finances, it was an amazing feeling. But I always had this sort of feeling in the back of my mind, like this little bit of worry, like what if one day, the next project doesn't come? What if something happens where I'm just unable to do this? And as a freelancer, as an independent filmmaker, you're always sort of in this feast of famine. Things are either like amazing or they're just like you're in between projects and you're like, it's getting a little bit sketchy. You're kind of watching your bank account digits sort of fade away, and then all of a sudden the project comes in at the right time and you're back in the game again. So there's this constant sort of like thing, and I've been okay with that because I'm all right with the unknown. I'm kind of okay with chaos. I understand that like none of us really understand what's coming, 1 second from now. So to even be able to predict or even understand what's going to happen in the future is a bit wild. To think that we actually have any idea is quite funny. So I don't mind that. I know that we're always walking into the unknown. I know I'm always walking into the unknown. So even having a full-time job, I don't think is secure, because you just don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. But anyway, so this little fear that I had in the back of my head, in 2024, it sort of realized itself, and I was like, okay, although I had some of the best projects of my life, there just wasn't enough. And those savings, all that sort of stuff, that lifestyle just started to change, and I could feel the freedom was starting to shift. And I got these two little kids over here, watching them, and I'm kind of thinking of the kind of life that I want for them, and just seeing like, shit, these projects aren't coming through, or I had like 5 projects fall through, one after another, towards the end of last year. And I was like, okay. But luckily, during that time, I'd been watching and observing my industry. I'd been looking, and kind of like, as I do, this is kind of how my mind is. I look at patterns, I kind of look at what's going on to be able to kind of like make sure that I can make informed decisions about what I'm going to be doing with my life, rather than just like falling into a bucket of shit, when it arrives. It's a weird analogy, but there it is. But yeah, I was kind of watching the patterns and kind of seeing my industry shrinking, and seeing that this side of the world, this sort of like creator economy, whatever you want to call it, this online education was just blowing up. And I was like, okay, this is pretty interesting. I was kind of seeing like, and listening to a lot of podcasts, and finding so many interesting people on YouTube and Spotify and all the different platforms that I was really getting a lot from. People that are interested in the same subjects that I was, whether it was philosophy, spirituality, creativity, filmmaking, whatever it was like there were amazing people out there that were speaking so well on these subjects, and they were speaking the kind of things that I felt in my own mind and in my own life, and I was kind of like, this is amazing, really starting to see the power of storytelling and messaging on the internet. So I was like, okay, cool. So like my industry shrinking. I'm not going to stand back and watch as it happens. I need to take action. I'm not just going to stand by and sort of watch the train smash. And so I was like, okay, cool, let's go. Like, let's look into this. Let's really start to like think about this situation. And remember, like when I started off this thing in the beginning, I had this idea for a long time that there will be a moment when I start to express myself, and I didn't really want to do it until I turned 40. And I was like, okay, maybe this is it. I'm 39 years old. Maybe I'll go into training for 12 months and get myself into the right headspace, figure out how this whole thing works, and then be ready for it. And I spent 12 months sort of really looking into this and kind of figuring out what it is that I want to bring to this platform. And it's been really difficult for me to kind of think of like what it is that I really want to bring, because there's so many different things that I love. I could have just made a niche that was just about filmmaking and talk about everything I know about filmmaking. Like the philosophy and the way I direct, or the kind of films that I love, and the writing and the lighting and the grading and all that sort of stuff. And I was like, it could be cool, but it's just one piece. It's like that's a piece of my puzzle. It's a piece of my life tapestry. The way I see us is that we're a tapestry of experiences that have been, woven together throughout our life. And to take one piece is kind of difficult. And it's the same way in which, like when I make films, so often I do the whole thing. I'll come up with the idea, I'll produce it, I'll direct it, I'll shoot it, I'll edit it, I'll color it, all that sort of stuff, because it's hard for me to pull the pieces apart, because It's like filmmaking is making a film for me. I like to make films. It's the same with like when I think about my life and what I'm doing here, it's like, it's hard for me to separate me as a filmmaker and me as somebody that's completely just in love with the human experience, and somebody that's really interested in self-inquiry and self-knowledge and self-realization. And yeah, so as I was sort of like going through this process, trying to figure out like where it is that I'm going to go with this, you know, do I create a channel that's on filmmaking? Do I create a channel which is just on philosophy? Do I create a channel that's on self-inquiry, spirituality? I was like, sort of like moving between all these different worlds. And I came across some diagrams somewhere. I can't remember what it was. I actually can't remember what it was, but it kind of, I think it was something like 3 circles. And you kind of take so I had these 3 different things: filmmaking and creativity is one. And then I've got like, you know, the sort of more like self-inquiry, which is all about the human experience, my love for the human experience. And then you've got this sort of other circle, which is like, you also need to be able to sort of like create something out of it, you know, create a living from these things that you're good at. You know, so to be able to pull these 3 things together, like how do I do it? How do I do it best? How do I actually take these things that I know, the things that I've lived in my life, and be able to do what I'm doing right here and express myself, to be able to create impact where I could also actually build a life out around it, you know, through different things, you know, like I've spoken about in some of the other messages, like, you know, online courses and, you know, working with people one-on-one, all that sort of stuff. And that's how I got to this sort of point where I'm doing this, you know, because I feel like I've said in some of the other channels, I mean, some of the other episodes, I've really witnessed like rapid change that's going on here in the world. We've well and truly moved into the digital age, and it's something that I've pushed away for a very long time. I'll say, social media, you know, it's for kids, it's narcissistic or whatever. But now I'm actually seeing it. I'm seeing the power in it. I'm kind of seeing that this is where things are going down. You know, there's more people watching YouTube than Netflix now. So it's like, this is where, like, if you've got something to say, if you've got an important message, if you've got something that you want to share to create impact, this is the place that you can do it. And you can literally just sit down and do it. You know, you don't need like a production crew. You don't need like crazy budget, especially like for someone like me, like I have all the equipment. I know how to do all of this sort of stuff. I've got loads of experience in storytelling, and know how to light, how to frame, how to color. And then I've also learned how to distribute, and YouTube is the distribution for the message. And this for me just feels like the most, it's like, it just seems like the best option while the work is quiet as a filmmaker. You know, I might get a project tomorrow and then have to go a little bit quiet on this channel. But for me, the plan would then be to talk about the project, things like that. But right now, as it's quiet, I'm just building up, letting you into my world, showing my worldview, helping you along the way as I grow my channel. And then, yeah, I'm just really excited about it, because it was a big thing. You know, it's a big risk for me to do this, a big risk to sort of go all in, you know, because I have taken a lot of the attention that I would have been putting into my film projects and put it into this to study and learn and understand. I haven't just grown these subs very quickly for nothing. You know, it's like, I think I'm at like almost 1,100 subs now in 12 days. And amazing engagement from you all. And it's been so cool to kind of like see you all in the comments and see these conversations that are going down, and I can actually see that what I'm doing is actually helpful. It's just like, I'm doing the right thing. I know I'm on the right path. It's just, but even just rolling the dice is a big deal, because this has to work. It's kind of has to work. I know sometimes people get into you know, doing this sort of stuff, creating a YouTube channel or creating a podcast as like a sideline thing. But I'm going all in on this. You know, the way I see it is this has to work. And, you know, I'm making it work. And if I know something has to happen, I'll use all of my willpower and all of my mind and put everything I have into it to try and make it work. And I won't give up, and I never do. This is just how I operate. Like if I decide something, if I can see something, if I can see a pattern, if I can see that this is what I need to do, I will just move straight towards it and keep going until it happens. And to be honest, I didn't expect it to go this fast. So this is really exciting. So thank you all for being here and tuning in while I've been growing this channel. Literally like 12 days ago, I had 0 subscribers, and it's kind of blowing up. So it's just amazing to be able to get that sort of feedback, to kind of see that, yes, I'm on the right path and I'm doing the right thing and I'm creating some form of impact, and this is just the beginning. So yeah, I think that's good enough for today. So I just wanted to just sort of end it off as well with just being like, yeah, I might be 40 today. I might be halfway through my life if I'm lucky. As on the one hand, you know, I've got knots in my stomach, you know, genuinely. Like I've had knots in my stomach this whole week. I don't know if it's because of this channel and because of, you know, the fact that I just turned 40. But on the one hand, it is like, wow, I'm 40. That's crazy. You know, it felt like the other day that I turned sort of 20, you know, 30. So that is mad. But at the same time, I'm so grateful to be alive. So unbelievably grateful to be alive. I've had so many people, good people in my life that have already left this planet. Some of my friends, my dad, you know, like a few people that they left too soon. So every day is a gift. Every second, every minute, every day is a gift. So to turn 40, you know, it's a gift that has been taken away from so many too young. So I'm just grateful to be here, grateful for my family, grateful for my friends, grateful for this life, and grateful to all of you that have been supporting this channel and tuning in. And yeah, I think that's it. I think I'll end there. I've got a little bit of cake to go home to, a couple of balloons. Woke up this morning, my awesome girlfriend Sophie, she decorated the whole house. I came down to my little kids singing happy birthday, and it's just awesome. So I'm going back to that. So yeah, cool. Thank you. Anyway, thanks for listening. Thanks for staying till the end, and I'll see you in the next one.